Welcome back, the rare and valuable coins. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Washington quarter dollars, but not just any quarters. We're talking about the ones that sold for thousands of dollars at auction, so let's get started. Let's start with one of the more intriguing Washington quarter dollars, the 1969 large date without a mint mark, found in fine condition. This particular coin has gained significant attention from collectors for several reasons, making it one of the most valuable quarters from this era. The Washington quarter, first introduced in 1932, commemorates the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The coin's design has remained relatively unchanged since its introduction, with the obverse depicting a left-facing portrait of Washington by sculptor John Flanagan and the reverse featuring an eagle perched on an olive branch. In 1969, this design was still in circulation, but the coin went through a significant period of transition, both in terms of production and economic factors. 1969 was a crucial year in U.S. history, marked by political tension, the space race, and the growing effects of inflation on the economy. Despite these national challenges, the U.S. Mint continued to produce coins with subtle variations. However, the Washington quarter from this year stands out due to the large date style, which can be seen as a major feature of the coin. In fine condition, the 1969 Washington quarter, with a large date and no mint mark, has become highly valuable on the auction market. Its value is tied directly to its rarity in high-quality states, particularly because collectors often look for clean, well-struck examples. At the time of writing, the coin has been known to fetch anywhere from $50,000 depending on the specific condition, with those in excellent or uncirculated states going for much higher. Its market value fluctuates, and as the rarity increases, so does its appeal to serious numismatists. The Washington quarter's value is also driven by the demand for coins from this era, especially those with certain production anomalies. In particular, the lack of a mint mark on this coin, combined with the large date format, makes this specific 1969 issue quite desirable. Collectors know that minting issues from the 1960s are often overlooked in favor of other more famous pieces, but this particular quarter stands as an exception. It's a testament to the fact that not every coin in circulation is created equally. Regarding mintage, the 1969 Washington quarter was produced in significant quantities, but not all of them were released in the same quality or struck with identical features. The total mintage for the 1969 Washington quarter was over 40 million, but very few of them have survived in fine or excellent condition, making those that have extremely valuable today. The design of this quarter remained largely unchanged, retaining the iconic features of Washington and the eagle. However, collectors pay particular attention to the large date format used in 1969. The numbers in the date on the coin are noticeably larger than those on other years, and this subtle difference has become a distinguishing feature for collectors. The interest in this coin extends beyond its simple design. It is partially fueled by collectors' interest in minting errors. Though the 1969 large date Washington quarter doesn't have any major minting flaws or off-center strikes, the combination of a large date and no mint mark positions it as a somewhat unique item in the quarter's history. Coins from the 1960s with unusual variations have always attracted collectors seeking the rarest of the rare, and this piece fits the bill. Moreover, the fine condition of the coin means it is in an acceptable state for collectors who may not be able to afford a higher-grade example, making it a great entry point for those just beginning their journey into numismatics. Next up is the 1979 Washington quarter dollar. Like the 1969 piece, the 1979 quarter has become a significant coin for collectors, although it differs in terms of its condition and rarity. This specific coin, in good condition with a large date and no mint mark, has caught the attention of collectors for its own set of unique features. Let's dive deeper into this fascinating coin. By the late 1970s, the United States was dealing with economic challenges such as stagflation, which resulted in an increase in both unemployment and inflation. The government began to look for ways to address these economic problems, which included policy changes and adjustments to coinage production. The 1979 Washington quarter was part of a series of coins minted during this transitional period, and while it wasn't particularly rare in itself, certain features of this coin make it a standout in today's market. The Washington quarter of 1979 continued to feature the classic design by John Flanagan, celebrating the nation's first president. However, the production of these quarters occurred under very different economic conditions than in earlier decades, which is part of what makes them interesting to today's collectors. Despite its relatively high mintage compared to other rare coins, the 1979 Washington quarter with the large date has gained a considerable market value in the numismatic world. In good condition, this quarter can fetch a price between $29,000 depending on the market and the coin's individual characteristics. The coin's appeal stems from a combination of its larger-than-usual date and the absence of a mint mark. These elements, which may seem subtle at first, have become highly collectible features for numismatists looking for specific variations of a coin from this era. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for these quarters in good condition, especially if they are free of significant wear and tear. In terms of mintage, the 1979 Washington quarter saw a production of over 40 million coins, making it a relatively common coin in general circulation. However, the coin's large date format, as well as the lack of a mint mark, makes it more collectible than other quarters produced during the same year. While it's not a particularly rare coin overall, its unusual characteristics make it highly desirable among coin collectors. The obverse design of the coin remains true to the original Washington quarter, with George Washington's portrait on the front. The reverse side, depicting an eagle holding an olive branch, also remains unchanged. But it's the large date format that sets this coin apart from other quarters in the same series. The large, bold numerals in the date make this coin an interesting and distinct variety that appeals to collectors who specialize in U.S. coinage from the late 20th century. Collectors show a great deal of interest in Washington quarters from this period, particularly those with unique design features such as the large date. While the 1979 Washington quarter doesn't contain major mint errors or flaws, the absence of a mint mark and the variation in the date size set it apart from many other coins from this era. The fact that this coin is in good condition, despite its relatively high mintage, further drives its demand. Coins in good condition are often considered more affordable and attainable than those in pristine or uncirculated states, yet they still hold significant value in the market due to their unique features. Next up, Washington quarter. Dollar, 1974. The Washington quarter dollar has long been an iconic piece of American coinage, introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Over the years, the design has evolved, but the figure of George Washington has remained constant, embodying the nation's admiration for its first president. Fast forward to 1974, a year in which the country was undergoing economic shifts, particularly due to inflation and the ongoing effects of the Vietnam War. The Washington quarter of 1974 was part of a regular series issued by the U.S. Mint, with coin collectors taking a special interest in the different types produced each year. But as with many coins in circulation during the 1970s, a few unique variations and errors have captured the attention of collectors, making specific years, including the 1974 large date, highly desirable. The Washington quarter dollar design features a profile of George Washington on the obverse front, with the inscription Liberty, the date of issue, and the motto, In God We Trust. On the reverse back, the coin showcases an eagle in flight, grasping an olive branch and arrows, with United States of America and E Pluribus Unum surrounding it. The design was created by John Flanagan and has seen only minor changes since its introduction. What makes the 1974 quarter stand out is its large date design, a feature that is present in the 1974 issues but not in earlier years. This change in design occurred as part of a minting process adjustment where the size of the numbers in the date was increased. The large date is more pronounced and easier to spot compared to its counterparts from other years. When collectors refer to the large date variation, they're typically looking for the 1974 quarter with this specific feature. The total mintage for the 1974 Washington quarter was quite substantial, totaling over 860 million coins across various minting facilities. This large mintage means that most 1974 quarters are not extremely rare. However, the 1974 large date without mint mark in fine condition has garnered attention from collectors due to its appeal in both the error coin and series-specific categories. Though the mintage was high, its appeal is tied to its unique design and condition. The fine condition of a 1974 Washington quarter is characterized by moderate wear, with clear details still visible but showing some signs of circulation. Now, let's talk about market value. A 1974 Washington quarter dollar in fine condition is valued at anywhere from $67,000 depending on the market and the auction's interest. However, coins with unique qualities, such as errors or those in higher grades, can command significantly higher prices. Some auction records show that a well-preserved specimen could bring in up to $72,000 or more. The market for coins like this can fluctuate depending on collector demand, but as the 1974 large date continues to hold interest for its design features and connection to the larger Washington quarter series, it remains a valuable piece for any collection. The 1974 Washington quarter has several notable errors and variations, including the large date issue, which makes it especially interesting to collectors. While the large date itself isn't an error, it is a key variation that has been highly sought after, particularly in finer conditions. Additionally, errors like double dies or die cracks are not uncommon in 1974 quarters, adding to their value for error coin collectors. Coins in fine condition, showing moderate wear with distinct features, tend to be much more affordable but still desirable for those trying to complete a series. With coins in higher grades, such as extra fine or AU, almost uncirculated collectors can expect significantly higher values, particularly if the coin is well preserved with little damage. Collectors value the Washington quarter not only for its connection to Washington, but also for the variety it offers in terms of mint marks, designs, and errors. As the market for error coins and unique variants continues to grow, the 1974 Washington quarter in fine condition remains a solid investment for any serious coin collector. Next up, the 1965 Washington quarter dollar was produced during a pivotal moment in U.S. history. The country was facing a major coin shortage due to silver depletion, which led to the decision to eliminate silver from circulating coinage. In response to rising costs and the need for more cost-effective coin production, the U.S. Mint switched to a copper-nickel clad composition for quarters and dimes beginning in 1965. This marked the beginning of a new era in U.S. coinage. While the 1965 Washington quarter wasn't initially seen as particularly special, the large date variety has become a sought-after coin by collectors. The switch to a clad composition, coupled with the large date design, gives this coin historical significance, especially when considering the broader economic and numismatic context of the time. As with other Washington quarters, the 1965 design features John Flanagan's classic rendering of George Washington on the obverse. The reverse design, showing the eagle in flight, has remained unchanged since the 1932 debut of the coin. What makes the 1965 Washington quarter particularly interesting for collectors is the large date variety. In 1965, the U.S. Mint produced two variations of the quarter, one with a smaller date and one with a larger date. The large date was minted for a brief period before being replaced by the smaller date design. This quick transition gives the large date version a unique place in the series, as it is rarer than the more common smaller date design. The total mintage of 1965 Washington quarters was incredibly high, with over 1.8 billion coins struck across all minting facilities. However, the large date version is rarer, with estimates suggesting that only a fraction of these coins were struck with the large date. While the 1965 large date is certainly not the rarest coin in the Washington quarter series, it has gained attention from collectors for its role in the transition from silver to clad coinage and its distinctive large date design. In extra fine condition, a 1965 Washington quarter, large date without mint mark, is valued at approximately $20,000. This price can rise if the coin is particularly well preserved, or if it is sold through a high-profile auction. Coins in higher grades, such as AU or MS mint state, can command much higher prices, often exceeding $21,000 or more. Some auction sales for 1965 large date quarters have reached as high as $22,000 or more. When in excellent condition, the market value of the 1965 Washington quarter is driven not just by its rarity but also by the increased interest in the transition from silver to clad coinage. With the U.S. Mint's move away from using silver in most circulating coins, the 1965 Washington quarter marks a significant change in American coinage history. Though the 1965 Washington quarter is most notable for its large date design, it also has a range of potential errors that attract collectors. Double die errors, where the design appears multiple times on the coin, and die cracks are some of the common issues found in 1965 quarters. These errors, particularly when found on the large date version, can increase the value of the coin substantially. Collectors are especially drawn to coins with high-quality strikes or unique variations. A 1965 Washington quarter with a sharp strike and clear large date design is in high demand, particularly from those interested in completing a series or acquiring historical coins. Next up, we have the 1967 Washington quarter dollar, particularly the large date version without a mint mark. This coin, though it may seem like a common find in your pocket change, has gained significant value in recent years, especially in specific conditions. Today, we're going to break down the historical context of this coin, its design features, the mintage, and what makes it valuable in today's market. The Washington quarter dollar was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design of this coin has remained relatively consistent, with the image of George Washington by John Flanagan on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. However, the years 1965 to 1967 were a transitional period for U.S. coins, marked by the government's need to reduce the silver content in coins due to a national silver shortage. In 1965, the United States government made the drastic decision to remove silver from most coins, with the exception of silver dollars and half dollars. This decision significantly impacted the Washington quarter dollar, as prior to 1965, the coin contained 90% silver. Post-1965, the Washington quarter became a copper-nickel alloy coin with only a small percentage of silver content, which had an impact on its value as a precious metal coin. The 1967 Washington quarter, like its counterparts from 1965 and 1966, was struck without silver. However, what makes the 1967 version particularly interesting is the large date variety. This version was made with a noticeably larger date, which became a distinguishing feature of the coin for collectors. The obverse of the 1967 Washington quarter features a portrait of George Washington, facing left. This design is nearly identical to the original design created by John Flanagan for the 1932 coin. The coin reads, "Liberty," above Washington's head, with "In God We Trust" on the left side and the year 1967 prominently displayed below. The reverse features an eagle perched on an olive branch with the words "United States of America" above and "E pluribus unum" below. What sets the 1967 Washington quarter apart is the size of the date. The large date variety was the result of the production process, with a larger die being used in the minting process, causing the date to be more prominent compared to earlier versions. The 1967 Washington quarter had a mintage of over 1.5 billion coins, which at first glance might make it seem like a very common coin. However, there are fewer examples of the large date variety, as this was a limited issue that caught the attention of collectors over time. The mintage of the 1967 quarter was substantial, but because of the introduction of the copper-nickel composition, fewer people held onto the quarters as a form of investment. Most were spent as currency, which means that finding a high-quality 1967 large-date Washington quarter in excellent condition is relatively rare. Despite its large mintage, the 1967 Washington quarter with the large date in circulated condition can fetch anywhere from $55,000 depending on its wear and overall condition. A coin in extra fine condition can be worth upwards of $58,000, while coins in uncirculated or mint state can fetch as much as $60,000 or more at auction. The reason for its value, especially in circulated condition, is due to the low survival rate of these coins in higher grades, coupled with the appeal of the large date variety among collectors. Although the 1967 Washington quarter is not known for having any major minting errors, the large date version has sparked significant interest due to its unique design. Collectors often seek out coins that feature design variations or distinctive features, making the 1967 Washington quarter in this variety especially desirable. Many collectors also gravitate towards coins from the 1960s because of the historical context surrounding the removal of silver from coins. As silver prices rose dramatically in the 1970s and 1980s, people began to pay closer attention to the numismatic value of coins like the Washington quarter. Thanks for joining us. Happy collecting!